Oh, finally live.
Yeah, what's good, family? Children is live. We have a special guest on the stream. He goes by the name the Officer of the Damn Law. Okay, PBWW channel. Okay, that's
Oh
his
yeah.
channel.
Oh yeah.
Details about his channel are in the description box, so check it out. Our brother here has taken it upon himself, okay, to expose police brutality, not only in the West, but also on the continent and worldwide, as his channel suggests. So, how are you doing today, Mr. PBWW?
Oh, oh, me, I'm all right. I'm doing fine. Yeah.
Right. Well, welcome to the stream, our first live together. So I appreciate you coming on.
No, yeah. I wanted you to do the live on your channel so at least
Mm,
people can know, like you're trying to get more viewers. For
that's
me,
right.
I'm almost hitting the 300 subscriber mark on my channel
Right.
because you know the stories I bring about are not stories that you see on mainstream. They are stories
Mm,
that are on the local level, but
hmm.
people don't know about it. So these are stories that
Right.
happened like 2007, 2000, 2017,
Mm,
2018. They are not as popular as the Philando Castillo or the Michael Brown or the Alton Sterling or the Terence Crutcher.
hmm.
These are the ones that we didn't hear about. So
Right.
I'm bringing out those stories of police brutality, especially in the US and
Hmm.
also worldwide and everywhere. And that's what I do.
Right.
People find it, some people find it difficult because they feel that I'm exposing too much because they
Mm,
don't have channels that talk about police. We're just like few that talk about police brutality. And some of the channels I've seen on YouTube, most of the guys I see that they have been threatened by police, so they stop, talking about it. Then I think there's a sister too that she's quite older than I am. Her name is Sergeant. Was a former LA cop, a sergeant, 20 years veteran, and
mm,
she talks about the same thing I do, but she talks about it like in once a week kind of. So she doesn't really cover as much. She covers the what I call it, the popular stories. She doesn't
mm.
cover the unpopular ones like I
Mainstream.
yeah, I cover the unpopular, the ones that have been hidden, the ones
Mm,
that people don't know about. I talk the
mm.
ones that even though when they were on YouTube, they didn't get so much traction, like
Right.
the Eric Garner, Philando
Mm,
Castillo, um, Terrence Crutcher, and the rest of them. So yeah, those are the ones I cover, and most of the
mm.
cases I cover are cases that happen in small towns, small counties in the US. So, like you have one that happened in maybe in a place like Picard, somewhere in Alabama, or some quiet town, but you don't know that crazy police brutality is going on there. So yeah,
Mm,
it's I go for the unpopular. I do talk about the popular ones, but I go like I talked about the Tatiana Jefferson and the Joshua Brown. I talked about yeah, I talk about the popular ones too, but I tend to concentrate more on the ones that are not popular. So
mm.
if you go through my channel, you'll notice I do a lot of live stream, and I talk about police brutality, especially in the states, because it's as if police brutality in the states is a kind of special kind.
It's an
It's like
epidemic.
yeah, it's like the police is crazy, man.
Trigger happy. They they're on drugs to start with, I think. Are you there, brother? Hello? Officer.
The police are not
Off- Officer, you there? Sorry, you dropped out for a second. So
to hunt.
uh, you dropped out for a second. So can you repeat what you said in the last
Oh, okay,
10
okay. I'm
seconds?
sorry. Oh, let me just say, like, police brutality in the U.S. is on
Yes.
a crazy level, and we know that police
Right.
brutality came from the slave patrol. You see, that's why YouTube is always trying to cut me out all the time. Slave patrolling group in the US, and also the fact that they have a canine police dog system is the fact that that thing came from slavery, where they used dogs like mastiffs to chase down slaves that ran away from the plantation. So you see, that's the thing. Like, you know, people should try and look at the past and see what's happening in the present. It's still the same system. It's just it changed, but it's the same system.
Yeah. I read some article some time ago that whatever is going on in the world, it's 100-year cycle.
Oh yeah.
So whatever happening, say it's 2019 now. So whatever happened in 1919 is bound to repeat itself in 2019. So 1919 was going on, lynchings of black people, police were shooting black people.
Oh yeah, mass shooting.
Now mass shooting. When you go on the news right now, what do you see? The Donald Trump rhetoric, Mexicans go back to your country. They were doing the same thing in 1919. They were doing exactly the same thing.
You see?
So I mean, that theory is proven to be true, that every 100 years something from the past comes back. So I mean, we always connected to history, and I mean, what goes is that, you know, history is always bound to repeat itself, especially for those who do not know their history. You know,
Oh yeah. And also, I wanted to find out much about the police brutality in Australia, because it seems like
So I'll give you some, you know, lowdown on some current issues. You know how I like reading articles, so I always like to put proper context to whatever I say. I don't like ranting too much, although I can talk for hours, you know, but it's really good to back it up with real facts, you know, substantial facts.
Oh yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do.
Yeah, you do the same. So it's very professional way of.
I back it up with a lot of articles and links, so I'm not talking from the air. Like some people are thinking I'm making the story up all the time, but I'm like, yo, it's happening. Like, I could show you the link where I get it from.
Yeah, so that's right. I do have some recent development on police brutality, like here in Australia, because Australia is a very small population, 25 million people, and the history of Australia being the most racist in the world in the past, where it's the only country in the world that had white-only policy up until, I think, 1950s. And I know, right? And even 1972, they had a referendum to vote to consider Aboriginal Australians as human beings. So thankfully, majority of Australia's population, about 70%, voted yes. And even it's scary that the 30% of Australians, 30% of Australians said no, Aboriginal people are not regarded as human beings. And that's a scary fact. So since then, Australia's tried to improve. I mean, my family have been here since 1970s themselves. So when you look at the history of African and Australian, like Australian government, white Australian relationship, we're not talking about Aboriginal Australians themselves, who have been here in Australia for between 100,000 and 65,000 years. They've migrated from Africa. So they are, if you wanted to see the original Africans, okay, they are like Aboriginal Australians, but you know, some of them have mixed along the way with Dravidian Indians and stuff like that, but their mitochondrial DNA takes them back to Africa 65,000, 100,000 years ago. So you know, the history, you know, things are changing. Okay, in the last 30, 40 years, things have changed after the referendum. Now we have our first Aboriginal person in Parliament. It's a female, and you know, so it can only get better. But still, Aboriginal people are having, you know, life really, really tough here in Australia. Life expectancy of Aboriginal person is 45 years old. Majority of Aboriginal males commit suicide by the age of 25 years old.
Oh my God.
And they've taken to alcoholism and drug abuse, and they'll end up in prison. And there's been cases where a few have died en route to the police stations or prisons. The police end up murdering them in the back of the police vans and stuff. So there's still a lot going on, but because Australia's population is small, we're not very loud, so you don't hear a lot of it. But compared to the United States, our police brutality count is very, very low, like abysmal compared to the United States. So yeah, I do have some articles that I'll share with you. So they're short reads. They're short reads. In 2018, just last year, there was a movement that came up saying that enough is enough. So that'll be my first article that I'll share, so you get a proper context of what's going on, and then the subsequent articles. So yeah.
Okay.
So without much ado, I am going to go into the articles. By the way, if you're in the stream and you have not subscribed to Police Brutality Worldwide, he's doing a really good job to bring education and awareness to people worldwide, wherever we find ourselves. There are Africans everywhere in the world. So go to the description box. Okay, let me see if I can put the
because people need to understand that this, the whole police brutality is attacking melanated people worldwide, everywhere.
That's right.
We're the target of police. They need to make that ticket. I used to be a law enforcement officer in the UK, so I'm talking from experience.
That's right.
I wish I started this channel a long time ago.
Yes.
Very earlier, when I just left the police force in the UK. So, I know what I saw. It's not enforcement, people. It's hunting.
Yeah.
It's hunting. I'll keep saying it. These guys are hunting us down. So, we need to be situationally aware of our surroundings, especially when it comes around police, everywhere and anywhere. Okay. They see us as a bad person. So because
and it's all because of the color of our skin.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing, because they see us as intimidating. When I was doing law enforcement in the UK, the English people didn't like. They never loved it, especially the fact that I was doing enforcement in two almost Caucasoid counties, Milton Keynes and Northampton. So they didn't like this 5'11", almost 200-pound, self-imposing melanated officer on street, because I used to tell that, it's either you do it my way or you get arrested. So they didn't like it, because once you intimidate, and the funny thing is, the way they used to say, okay, we fit the description, young black males 25 and above, that was how I was doing to them, young white males 18 and above. I was always making sure I was always watching them all the time.
They say reverse racism, but it's funny when you say that.
Oh no, well, seriously, Chief, I'm the officer there. So are you going to say I have the body cam, you have nothing? I have the pocketbook, you have nothing. I have the weapons, you have nothing. I'm the guy, I'm the uniform person, you're just a civilian, you're just a member of public. So for me, I was doing, because sometimes when you're joining law enforcement, you must have a mission. Like for my mission was that, okay, I was going to make sure that I'm not going to make these guys attack any of our melanated communities, because that was the plan.
You were looking out for your family,
Yeah, I was undercover. I was not like.
This is what we need to do. We have black people even in the government in the United States, the most powerful government. We even have Barack Obama as the most powerful man in the world, but yet he did nothing for black people.
Nah. That Obama is a bully.
He wanted to push his gay agenda.
Oh yeah, Obama is a bully, man. Obama, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jack.
He killed Muammar Gaddafi.
Oh yeah, Obama is a bully, man. Bully.
So it's very sad. Yeah. So anyway, I like I always say, right? Nobody's gonna solve our problem for us. We have to solve it ourselves, and it starts with education. So what you're doing is you're actually educating the public. Okay, so say a few more things. I'll let me share this. Invite more traffic in.
No, the thing is that people should understand is like, we are at war. A war on us. Is it police brutality to attack us in the Americas and also worldwide? There isn't one. There isn't one food to attack us to, one medicine. But let me just narrow this to police brutality. Police brutality
Mm.
one is a thing because in the US there's what we call police brutality bonds that's working on the stock market on Wall Street. So this police brutality happening in the US will keep happening because they're making money from it. There's police brutality bonds in the US. It's on the stock market.
Mm.
Okay, so this is a money making racket. Okay, nothing. All this police brutality don't just happen by accident. All is The crazy police brutality happening in the US is happening by design. Okay, as we speak now, some black persons undergoing some police issue as we speak right now in the US.
Mm.
And most of these stuffs don't get reported on the national news or even the local news. It could just be swept under the rug.
Mm. Yeah, actually, as you're speaking, I'm going to pull out another. This Washington Post have a police brutality database or police killing database. So last time I checked, which was a couple of days ago, the police have killed 801 people in the United States
Can
this year
imagine
alone.
just this year alone.
801. And in Australia, I think roughly under, I think there's been a few shootings this year in Australia, but it will be less than 5. I guarantee you that. And Australia's population is, 25 million compared to America's, which is, 300 million. So Australia's population is, the United States is 12 times or even more, maybe 13 times more than Australia's population. And yet still, if you do the ratio, it doesn't even match. It doesn't match at all.
Because the police want to kill. The police is like, you see, it doesn't take much of rocket science for these guys to just start to shoot you. You could just be saying, you could just be just talking to the police officer and the guy pulls out his taser gun and pow, 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 pow. That's how mad this is. It's like I used to feel that the Nigerian police, although police is bad anyway, I used to feel that the Nigerian police was horrible. Okay. I used to feel that the Nigerian police, but these guys are ready to kill you within seconds.
Yeah.
They're ready to pull out that gun so quick, that 9mm, and start shooting like it's
they're trigger happy.
I think they're not really I think they're just trigger demonic.
Yeah,
because the taser, someone can shoot you.
I reckon it's the abuse of power. They get drunken with power, and then they think they can take the law into their hands, and how power always corrupts. So.
And I think it's the fact that it's also the same thing with the civilians. America is a gun trigger happy nation, which is built from bloodshed. So any little thing, when anybody gets angry and he has a gun or she has a gun, they just pull it out, because everybody's so emotional that they start shooting and wrecking the whole place with bullets. That place is they say us to the continent. It's worse than the Wild West. Like they say us in the continent, we're savages. We're this. Like, come on, man, America, you guys are worse than savage. You guys are like the gates of hell. So you guys can't resolve anything without pulling out the 9mm and start shooting. And no, it's no.
It's not on. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'll go on with the article and give you a context of what's happening in Australia.
Oh, okay.
So before we get into the recent incident, an Aboriginal man, I think he was 19 years old, Aboriginal man was killed, I think in somewhere, a village outside the Alice Springs in the center of Australia.
Okay.
And apparently 3 police officers arrived at the scene, and then allegedly a young man rushed.
Chief, before you start, can you put your link of your channel on the chat so I could copy it and put it in the Black Junction
Yeah, I can do that. 1 second.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
how is Black Junction going? I need to
yeah, yeah, it's good. It's going fine. I normally put most of my live streams on the blackjunction.com so that because
mm,
a lot of our African American brothers are there, so they see the stories I put there. So yeah, it's growing. It's seriously, man, it's growing. It's the new. I think it will be a force to record in the nearest future
mm.
against Facebook.
Yes, yeah,
It will be a
especially for Black people. Yeah,
because seriously, man,
yeah,
a lot of information is really going around and it's going around at a very fast rate.
yeah,
So the so-called powers that be,
yeah.
may just be
Mm,
angry and shut the whole
mm.
internet.
Yeah, and kick you off the internet, especially with YouTube.
Yeah.
They ads
Uh,
apocalypse and stuff like that.
oh yeah.
Mm.
And we
All right,
and
so
we know. Oh, continue.
no, the link to my channel is in a chat there. So yeah,
Oh
you
yeah.
can copy it and share it on Black Junction and
Oh
invite the
yeah. I'll
guys
put it
in
there.
to support.
I'll put
Yeah,
it there already.
yeah. All right, so yeah, if you join in, if you come in through, I am Chief Drano. I am with Police Brutality Worldwide, officer of the damn law,
Yeah,
former
I'm the
police officer
officer.
himself, so he knows what he's talking about. We do
Former
have,
lawyer. Sure.
yeah, former law officer, law enforcer. So
Yeah, law enforcement officer. I was doing traffic operations, law enforcement in Milton Keynes and Northampton. So I do know a lot about police work.
yeah, which
Yeah.
means if you're doing traffic, which means you coming into contact with a lot of
Oh yeah. Oh
people.
yeah.
So all sort of
A
people.
lot. All
Yeah.
sorts.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So I will go on. I was telling you the story about this guy that got killed. So the 19-year-old was shot and killed by the police, and
Okay.
eyewitnesses saw everything that happened, and the police lied that he had apparently he was called allegations of robbery. So when it came, the police officers alleged that the young man, 19-year-old Aboriginal guy, attacked the police with a weapon. But then
Okay.
they looked around, no weapon was found. Eyewitnesses saw that the police shot him and just carried him and threw him in the back of the police vehicle, and he died
Yeah.
in custody. So it became a very outrageous incident. The whole of Australia, people were protesting. The Australian people protested against police brutality against Aboriginal people. It's a very rare, isolated case, but Aboriginal people are dying. They're suffering, and we do not need more the young people being killed by police officers. So it goes to speak volumes on racism and discrimination against people of the darker hue. So that's a little context there, but I'll read this short article and then you tell me how you feel about it. Okay, so
Oh yeah.
this article was actually written in 2018. So the 8th of was this April?
Okay.
8th of April 2018 by Ugar Nadim and Sonia Hickey. Okay, so enough is enough. Okay, so hashtag enough is enough. Stop police brutality in Australia. So this is by a Sydney criminal lawyer's website.
Okay.
Okay, so their contact phone number and everything is in there. The article, all articles that I read will be in the description box, so you can check them out.
All right.
Okay, so in context, okay, this is in 2018. Videos of Australian police officers committing horrendous acts of brutality are being uploaded to social media at an alarming rate, renewing calls for offending officers to be made accountable for their crimes. Mind you, the police officer that shot and killed the Aboriginal young man was arrested in 2 days and jailed.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll throw that out there. I thought I forgot to put that out there. So back to the article. The head of a community legal services organization in Victoria. Victoria is my state, by the way, and the capital was Melbourne. So the head of a community legal service organization in Victoria says its staff are now openly encouraging victims of police brutality to post incriminating evidence online rather than just make formal complaints, which usually fall on deaf ears. Like many others, the organization points out the accountability mechanisms across Australia are woefully inadequate, with the vast majority of complaints being investigated by police themselves and quickly dismissed, including those involving. So that's alluding to police corruption, right? As is in the United States as well. So including those involving highly incriminating video evidence, which would easily form the basis of criminal prosecution against others. In Victoria, the Independent Board or Broad-Based Anti-Corruption Commission, IBAC, recently found that less than 4% of allegations of police brutality to regional Victorian police stations were upheld. So less than 4%. Did you hear that? So the organization has openly criticized the way police handled internal investigations of serious incidents, accusing them of failing to consider relevant evidence and giving too much weight to police testimony over that of independent witnesses. Okay, so, and in the small minority of cases where police conclude that their colleagues acted unlawfully, the offenders overwhelmingly receive a slap on the wrist. Okay, so it sounds familiar, doesn't it? Such as having to undertake some counseling or brief respite from frontline duties. They are rarely suspended, let alone dismissed or criminally prosecuted. Where complaints are referred to independent bodies such as IBAC or the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission in New South Wales, these organizations lack the resources to properly investigate complaints. In fact, the LECC recently told Sydney criminal lawyers that it has been forced to refer dozens of complaints back to police as it simply does not have enough staff or funding to investigate them. Over and above this, bodies like IBAC and LECC have no power to discipline or prosecute police. They simply make recommendations which may or may not be followed by other bureaucrats. To make things worse, good cops who refuse to toe the line by engaging in police cover-ups or who expose police brutality often find themselves in the firing line, ostracized from their workplace, or even criminally prosecuted for alleged of police brutality. So the situation has created a culture whereby some officers feel free to commit heinous acts of violence against members of the public with virtual impunity. Insufficient accountability. Dennis Nelthorpe, Chief Executive at West Justice in Werribee, explains. So Werribee is a suburb here in Melbourne. So explains the dire need for properly resourced independent bodies with sufficient powers to investigate and prosecute offending police officers. A complaint system dealing with police brutality needs to be sufficiently robust and able to withstand scrutiny. And you can't say that about the way the current police accountability mechanisms work. People are being forced to find other ways to hold the powerful to account, and one way to do that with great impact is to share footage in community and let them judge that accordingly, or social media, right? His comments come after yet another incident of police beating a man while they were arresting him, and that incident is in the description box as well, so you can check it out. Okay. The Sudanese-born Melbourne man robbed a chemist after suffering a psychotic episode. Graphic footage captured on CCTV surveillance system shows him being held to the ground and repeatedly punched and kicked with great force by police officers. So if you catch the context here, Sudanese-born, okay, Melbourne man, so it's a Sudanese-Australian, right? And they're very known to police, okay? So Ahmed Hassan, the leader of Victoria Police Task Force, with the job of tackling crime by young African Australians, believes the incident is just the tip of the iceberg, and that since the footage went public, it has been inundated by young Africans telling him, this is nothing new, mate. While no one is arguing that the man responsible for the crime at the chemist deserves to be criminally prosecuted, many believe police were acting outside their powers to pinning him to the ground and viciously assaulting him. Okay, so sufficiently resourced and empowered independent bodies, okay, but calls for state governments to provide greater funding and sufficient investigatory and prosecutory powers to independent bodies seem to be falling on deaf ears. And with police forces across the country seemingly developing an us versus them mentality, when it comes to the general public, there are concerns that without a change in culture and accountability mechanisms, the problem of police brutality will continue. All right, so that was the article, and these are the authors. Okay, so Sonia Hickey and Yuga Nedim. So there you go. I'll send him the link again. So sorry about this. Okay, Mr. Police Brutality dropped out. Okay, add to stream. You're back.
Oh, yeah, back. Yeah. It's I don't know, the YouTube is just misbehaving. But anyway, yeah. I you know, at least I was able to get some part of the article, and I heard about that 90-year-old that was being brutalized by police.
Yes.
But I know that there was a lot of cases of Aboriginal people being brutalized by the police. You know, being killed, being, you know, we know that, you know, they like to drink a lot because of what white Australians or Caucasoid Australians did to them.
Have done to them. Yeah, they drown in their sorrows. Yes.
You know, so we know, I know that the coppers in Australia, but for the melanated people in Australia, do they attack? Do the police officers give you guys a tough time, or, you know?
You know, because of the Sudanese community, Australia made a big mistake. I mean, wherever the United States goes, Australia is there behind them. Let's take, for instance, Sudan. Okay, the war in Sudan, therefore, was being perpetuated by, you know, it's all the fight over resources.
Oh yeah.
And you have a Saudi-backed Sudanese government. And the Saudis are funded by the United States. Okay, and Australia and the United States have oil drilling, you know, projects in the Sudan. You see, so they go in there, instigate wars, and, you know, destabilize the government, and then they get all these natural resources for free. And then doing that, they create all this civil war happening, and then they take on these refugees to bring to Australia as a cover up, as if they're doing a good thing. But ultimately, they go in and destabilize the country. Okay, that force seems a long time ago, right? Well, let's look at, so Australia took in nearly 20,000 Sudan. 20,000. I might be exaggerating, but a huge number of Sudanese people. Okay, and Sudanese account for the biggest population of Africans in Australia.
Okay.
Aboriginal people. So Australian government took in a whole lot of Sudanese people, South Sudanese, or people from Darfur who were being persecuted by the government, or Bashar al-Assad government.
Okay.
A new context is we look at the war in Syria. If you can remember very well, Barack Obama went into Egypt and inspired the Arab Spring, okay, and then said Assad must go, Gaddafi must go, and then when they invaded Iraq, they left all these war machines and Humvees and all these war vehicles. They left them in Iraq, and ISIS just picked them up. So it's plain, it's obvious that ISIS was set up by the United States, as Al Qaeda was set up by United States to fight Russia. So the same thing played out. They're using the same playbook. I mean, same old tricks, but we've seen it. Okay, because of the internet, we see all these things happening. So Australia promised to take in about 200,000 refugees from Syria. Saying this, we had about 3 million refugees from Syria flooding to Europe. So much that Germany is saying they don't want them anymore. Germans are saying we don't want the refugees and that, but Australia took in a whole lot of Syrian refugees. So they go in, instigate all these wars, topple the government, create chaos, and then they take refugees and bring them. So it's sort of like the same thing they did to Africa when they took the slaves out of Africa, or the Africans out of Africa. They go and create the wars, and then they bring all these people as prisoners of war into the United States to fuel their economy. So this is what happened. But one thing with the Sudanese is, when they brought them in, or any refugees, when they brought them in, they did not educate them properly. So they just took them from the war front and brought them here. Okay, so a lot of them have no regard for human life. A lot of them still are traumatized by war. So when they come here, they still have that mentality, so a lot of them resort to crime, and they're very known to police. So they instead of solving a problem, they created more problems, you see. So, and the Sudanese are very tall and very dark people. They're very intimidating when you see them. So, it's the same narrative that you talk about: tall, dark, and scary.
Scary. So. The big black man.
Black man, yeah, big,
yeah.
Bad big black man. So when you see them approach, especially at night, all they want to do is beat you up and to the point of death. So all these things are bringing up police brutality issues here in Australia against African people. So yeah.
Yeah, that's why I tell them here that this, even here too in Calgary, you have a lot of Sudanese here, so they're always saying that the Sudanese are intimidating because I'm like, those guys are just tall. They're not intimidating, man. Like, have you seen a tall, intimidating person come to my country? You see a lot of them.
Yeah.
So
Northern Nigeria, huh?
So I tell them like, geez, man, these guys are tall, fine, but they're not intimidating, man. I've seen, but that's a narrative that this stupid Caucasoid society like to push. Because they always do things based on agenda. So yeah, I understand. Like, everything you've said is on point.
Yeah. Thanks for that. So there is a shorter news article from it's not that short, but I don't know. How much time have we got?
Right now it's 2:30 a.m. I think.
Oh, geez.
I suppose we're still in the wee hours of the morning. You guys are like already headed to night. The next day.
It's 8:30 p.m. Tuesday.
You guys are way gone. We're still back.
Yeah, we're in the future.
Oh, yeah.
We are in the future.
Ahead. Australia. So ahead.
Yeah, so I'll give you context to the young man that got killed, and I'll find key points to read. I'll not read all, so I wouldn't want to hold you back, so you can have your sleep.
Yeah, we could do up to like an hour. That would be good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, cool. So how much have we done so far?
I think we've done like 40 minutes.
40. Okay. So another 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So I'll talk about this nation moving story. Okay. So
all right.
Let's see. So this nation, this story moved the nation.
Okay.
Let me share my screen. So the first article, which I think you missed out on, was talking about how the police insulate themselves against the law.
Sure.
They avoid justice, and then they, just as the U.S. There's just internal corruption amongst
Oh
police
yeah, yeah.
officers.
That is a
Safe-
normal. That's a normal breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We
Yeah.
even when I was in law enforcement in the UK, that was it. That was it. Cover up.
Yes,
Cover up.
cover up.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
that's all they do. So have you seen an Australian Aboriginal man here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you make a difference between this man and an African? No.
No difference, man.
No difference,
None.
bro.
None.
No difference.
Not at all.
There are some
Not
that
at all.
look a little lighter because a lot of them mixed with the European, because the European nearly wiped them out. So the ones
Oh
that
yeah.
they bred into them, so you see them a little lighter and they have longer, curly, wavy hair. But the ones that the Aboriginal people, I mean the Europeans encountered in Tasmania, which they ended up wiping them out, look very African. They had kinky hair and everything. So
Wow.
yeah.
So they eventually wiped all those Tasmanian people out.
They wiped them out. They killed them all. They killed them all.
It's Caucasoid. Damn.
Yeah. So original Australians actually look like Papua New Guineans. If you know Papua New Guineans, people from
Sure.
Vanuatu,
Sure.
Samoa, Tonga. Yeah, that's what they look like. So yeah. Anyway, so going to this article, Yuendumu police shooting, Indigenous groups demand inquiry into Kumanjayi Walker's death. So the calls over the 19-year-old shooting at his family home come amid a second day of protest outside Alice Springs police station. So the protests led to a nationwide or national-wide, demand for justice. So within 2 days, the police officer was arrested and jailed and found guilty.
Okay.
Yeah, so leading Aboriginal organizations in the Northern Territory are calling for an immediate and exhaustive investigation into the police shooting death of a 19-year-old Walpiri man, Kumanjayi Walker, at his family home on Saturday night. So the calls came as community members and supporters protested outside Alice Springs police station for a second day to demand answers about the shooting. Another rally is scheduled for tomorrow. So this was before justice. So I just want to show you a little bit of that. So that's the elder speaking, and these are Aboriginal people here at the background. So the article will be in the description box, not to exhaust this too much, but yeah. So meanwhile, a Northern Territory MP is calling on the Chief Minister to go to Yuendumu to meet with elders as an appropriate cultural response to the shooting of Walker in the town almost 300 kilometers northwest of Alice Springs. The independent member, and these people came in buses to Alice Springs to protest. So the independent member of the Stuart Scott McConnell told ABC Radio on Monday it would be helpful with the healing process for Michael Gunner to sit down at Yuendumu with elders to explain how the inquiry into Walker's death will involve them. So the article goes on and on and on. Okay. So the police station has never been fully operational, and the government is too willing to close. Community clinics. It's not a minor community; it's 1,000 people. The citizens of Yuendumu need to be kept safe with their clinic kept open. So Australia's huge, bro. Australia's huge, like nearly the same size as the United States and Canada. So Australia's huge, and you can the distance between one town is like to another is like 1,000 kilometers. Yeah. So yeah, it's very vast. So the next article that I wanted to show gives you proper context on the outcome of the shooting where the police officer got arrested. So that'll be the final one that I'll share, and then I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Also, like, could you, like, after the live stream, can you like send me a duplicate copy of the live stream so I could put on my channel too?
Yeah, I don't know how to do that, but you can download it. You can
Okay. Okay.
download it.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Yeah,
I can. Yeah.
you can download it. So yeah, so okay. So this article was on the 15th and the 16th. So
Wow.
this was after the inquiry and everything. So the police
Seriously.
officer been arrested and stuff. So
Huh.
it's not a big read. So
Seriously.
yeah,
So now it's like they're now killing. It's like they are. You see, all this are not just happening. These are all done by design. Like, seriously, Chief, they're
yeah,
all
of
done
course.
by design, man.
Of course. I mean, the Aboriginal Australians were going extinct. They were wiping them out slowly.
Yeah.
So they were shooting them. It was put out there. You shoot an Aboriginal any 10 kilometers, you find them within the 10 kilometers radius of your farmland. Passed the law not to shoot Aboriginal anymore, so now they deny them medical aid and stuff. And the Europeans brought a lot of diseases, like even common flu, common cold used to kill Aboriginal people, and they deny them healthcare. And even till today, Aboriginal people were pushed to the desert, and they don't have proper food, sanitation, housing. I mean, it's deplorable state they live in. Very, very sad. And we live in Australia. Melbourne is like Toronto or Quebec or Vancouver.
Okay.
But you just go an extra 600 kilometers up north, and you're in the desert, and that's where Aboriginal people live, or they've been pushed there. So I'm coming to this article, okay, by the Age, okay. 3 gunshots, 1 dead man, and a wave of anger across the nation. Right. So article on 15th of November 2019. So relating to the same 19-year-old that got killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it began with 3 gunshots. Hamilton Morris, the star of Australian film Sweet Country, heard one of them last Saturday night as he walked home from Yuendumu cemetery, where the community had just buried his nephew. Okay, so this is how an Aboriginal town looks like. Can you see it?
Oh yeah. Sandy.
And
I've seen so many documentaries of it. Always desert.
This is a desert. Yeah, this is Australia. So the remote Aboriginal community of Yuendumu in Northern Territory. I ran towards the scene and I saw one of the police officers threatening us with a gun. No one come near or you will also get shot. We had to go back away from it. Hamilton says there was a noise, a sound like help, faint. We saw just a glimpse of Kumanjayi, or the kid that got shot. They dragged him out and chucked him in a police van. It was so quickly. Yeah. I was so shaken up by it. I cried my heart out. That's the last I saw of Mr. Walker, the young fella. News of the shooting of Kumanjayi Walker, 19 years old, when police entered his home to arrest him for property offenses, spread fast through Yuendumu or Walpiri community, 300 kilometers northwest of Alice Springs, Darwin. So this is a map of Australia, right?
Oh yeah.
Even Victoria, my state, is not even showing here. It's further down because Australia is huge. So this is Alice Springs here, and this is all here is desert. Okay, all here is desert country, the middle of Australia. So yeah, and between here and here is like over 1,000 kilometers.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So locals gathered at the police station where the officers locked the doors, fearful of reprisals, and refused to provide answers about Walker's condition. The shocking revelation that Walker was dead came the next morning to media first, community second, triggering a wave of grief and anger that would spread across the territory and Australia. So in a press conference later that day, the Northern Territory's acting Deputy Commissioner, Michael White, said Mr. Walker lunged at police with a weapon. Okay. So this is the lie here, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the people of Yuendumu and surrounding communities then took the grief to Alice Springs, traveling in busloads to seek answers. So here, they graffiti the police stations, and the police are stationed outside to protect the building. So protesters leave red hand prints on the Alice Springs station. I've seen, bloody hands and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So the grief spread on social media from the desert to the coast, so that citizens who had never heard of Yuendumu marched and waved placards in Australia's biggest cities. It sparked a movement not only of justice for Walker, but a demand for fundamental changes to the way services are delivered to remote Aboriginal communities. So I'm telling you, a lot of people, especially new migrants coming to Australia, that was it. They just insulated in the city, the greenery and the lushness of the city. They don't know that Aboriginal people are suffering.
Oh yeah, they won't.
So yeah, they won't. Yeah. So, but this is why we educate, right?
Oh yeah.
So the breakdown in the service provision became apparent immediately on Saturday night. There was no professional medical help for Walker as he lay dying in a police station because the Central Australian evacuated the clinic after an escalation of break-ins by the young people. So here's a town here, Yuendumu, next fuel station or service, Halls Creek, 760 kilometers. So you basically need to have extra fuel tanks with you when you're driving through Australia.
Oh yeah, because it's big. It's as big as Canada, so I'm not surprised.
It's huge. It's really huge. Yeah. So the last professional left for Alice Springs on Saturday. Sorry?
You say?
Sorry, I thought I heard you say something.
No.
Okay, so moving on. An ambulance was dispatched from the nearby community of Yuendumu, and depending on who you ask, arrived an hour and 3 hours after the shooting, by which time Walker was dead. Okay, sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So always safety of employees is absolutely broader Issue Labour Senator Milan Deary McCarthy says the policymakers we have to ask, would we have done in place in New South Wales or around my computer is going to restart at 9 o'clock. Yeah, the policymakers we have to ask, would we have done a place in Israel? If you have a population of around 1,000 people, would you have removed completely the access to any health services? So like you were saying, it's systemic, is it? Systematic.
Oh yeah,
everything was done on purpose.
On purpose, yeah.
So, so this is so these are people protesting. Again, these are people protesting on the streets of Australia.
Oh yeah.
Justice for Walker.
Oh yeah, it's getting too much. It's all done by design. It's not no different from what's happening in the US where people are protesting. But protesting hasn't really helped our people. We need to act. We need to organize.
We need to organize, yes. So protesters march in Melbourne on Wednesday. So this is my city. Okay. So these protests happen in my city, Melbourne, because of social media, right?
Oh yeah.
So Aboriginal Australians in a remote country are among the most unwell people in the world. In 2007, the Closing the Gap campaign was launched. The World Health Organization found Aboriginal Australians were 100 years behind white Australians and were the sickest Indigenous peoples in the world. And we all live in the same country, bro. We all live in the same country. It's very sad. So news of the murder charge against 28-year-old constable, and he's very young too, young police officer. So news of the murder charge against 28-year-old constable Zachary Rolfe a veteran of Afghanistan and a decorated policeman, was greeted with cheers and applause at a candlelit vigil in Alice Spring on Wednesday. So the speed of the charge, just days after Mr. White said Mr. Walker lunged at and stabbed an officer shocked above the community, rallying for justice and Northern Territory Police. So obviously he's lying. Nobody was stabbed. Okay. So this is the police officer here, only 28 years old.
Caucasoid.
You see here, his picture is on the front, but when a police officer kills a black person in the US, you can't even see anything about the police officer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is the difference here in Australia.
Everything
when
is
the police
done systematically.
In 2 days.
Yeah. See, this one thing you understand, Chief Drino. The 5 eyes of the Anglosphere: Canada, the US, Australia, the UK, and New Zealand. Each of these countries, when they are always trying to report maybe news or do something, they're all from the same people, but they have a different way of doing things. Everything is systematic. Everything is done by design.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, family, I have we only have 10 more minutes left, or 12 minutes. So you know, the rest of the article will be in the description box. Check it out for yourself. Okay, so the key difference here is the Australian public poured into the streets and cried out to end police brutality and for that police officer to be charged. So within 2 days, a police officer was arrested, found guilty of murder, and thrown under the prison.
Oh yeah, because if they didn't do that, who knows? Australia doesn't want to burn like the US. Geez, like the powers that be will say, okay, let's just burn this guy, because this guy, if we don't contain this, they may go to the guy's house and kill him.
Yeah.
So, and
of course. Geez. Of course. So they hide his identity and cover him up with corruption, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but the thing is that they had to bring the guy out because nobody wants to have Melbourne may be a very good tourist attraction city, but you don't have those protests carrying all those tourists out.
You know what? You're right. They don't want the whole world to see.
Oh yeah.
As well, because Melbourne is the number one
even here in the
most
West,
livable city in the world.
Yeah, because even here in the West, people were talking about the Aboriginal guy that was shot. So if not the protest and through social media was able to push that information to us in the West here. So you see, they're like, let's try and bury this guy and let's try and show his face on media. He's not supposed to do this. Let's not be like the Americans. But see, all of them, all the 5 eyes of the Anglosphere are working hand in hand, but in different systems and different tactics.
Yeah, all under white supremacy, of course. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I call it more white Caucasoid fragility because, I tell them, look, Caucasoid ain't Thanos. They're not. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. The interesting thing is, Canada's head of state is still the Queen of England.
Oh yeah.
And Australia's head of state is still the Queen of England.
Oh sure.
So you're right. You're
the
right.
Anglosphere, the 5 eyes. Look at it: Canada, the US, the UK, New Zealand, Australia. I'm sure New Zealand is still under the Queen.
That's right. Yes.
Oh yeah. You see. So.
Last stronghold of white supremacy.
Oh yeah. The 5 Anglospheres of the English, whatever. So yeah, it's still there. But you see, if you tell them that, they'll say, no, we're just making things up. We're just talking trash. We're just illusional. But but look, everything it's there, man. It is that like, all this truth is staring at us in our faces. But we, the people, don't want to make the effort of trying to know why is this happening. We just want to live our daily lives and not do anything.
I was speaking to this gentleman, he married a Mauritian. He's lived in Mauritius for a while, and I visited Mauritius myself before. And you know what happened in Mauritius? The French and the British had a massive war to fight over the island, and they all had slaves, African slaves in Mauritius. And later on, the British brought in Indians, who are now 60% of the population in Mauritius, and Africans are relegated to 23%.
Mm.
But what happened was, when slavery was abolished, some Africans ran away. Some runaway slaves went to hide in the mountains. And when slavery was abolished, the government sent the police officers to send them the news that slavery is abolished, so the people should come down.
Okay.
And when the people saw the police come in, they said, freedom or death. So they jumped off the cliffs and killed themselves. So 120 people perished. And I'm just like, I don't believe that story. I think they went in and murdered these people. Yeah. I will never believe what the Caucasoid is going to tell about.
Nah. It's all lies. All.
They also said that when the Europeans arrived on Mauritius, there were no human beings. I'm like, what?
That's
but
what
when you look at Mauritius, it's so close to Madagascar.
Oh yeah.
And the people of Madagascar are a mix of African people and people from the Java regions, like Indonesia and that.
Oh yeah.
So the people from Indonesia, they caught a boat all the way from Indonesia, which is in Australia, right? They caught a boat all the way to Africa, and you tell me that they missed Mauritius?
No.
So you're telling me nobody was living in Mauritius? So I mean, it's a lie. But the white man will say that, oh, nobody lived it. There was nobody. It was a deserted island. Nobody lived it. But Africans were always going
all lies.
In those islands.
All lies.
So they wiped them out.
Never trust the Caucasoid. All lies, man. They have said all those kind of lies, and people still believe that. Like all lies, man.
Yeah. So yeah. So what do you think? What do you think about? We've got 6 more minutes. So, what's your take on police brutality in Australia? Have I changed your perspective? Have I given you something to think about?
Well, it's not as crazy. It's still police brutality, but it's not as crazy as what we have in the US. I think the US is the one that has the highest, because it has been done by design to have the highest levels of police brutality, since there's police brutality bonds on Wall Street. But Australia, the system would have been set in such a way that, okay, let's not make it too obvious like the rest of the world. Let's just be killing this guy slowly and surely, but let's not make it too obvious. But we know that police brutality, is indeed in Australia, with the not just with the killing of this 19-year-old, but the fact that it has been going on for years, just that it's not too known on mainstream and in other forms of media. It's on the quiet hush, because it's the extreme side of the other side of the earth. So, many people don't really put their eyes on it, but we know that police are doing some crazy, shady stuff. I know myself that police. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you are former law enforcement, so you know the insights.
Police lie on their pocketbook. Police lie on their statement. So jeez, man.
Yeah, it's all corrupt.
I know.
And I'm pretty sure that's why you left the force, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw. Any
reason why you left the force?
The whole corruption was just horrible. It was. These guys were just doing crazy stuff. People were writing what never happened on streets. People were doing things, shady stuff. So I just got tired and left.
Yeah, family, on your screen, it's the police killing, fatal police force, police database by Washington Post. 810 people were killed. Okay, on the weekend, I think last Friday, I looked and it was 801. 801. So within four days, okay.
Oh yeah.
9 more people have been killed by police in the United States.
And as we speak right now, there are still police killing as we speak right now.
They're still killing, yeah. And this
Oh yeah.
this was updated on the 21st of November. So in today's the 26th of November. So they haven't updated it yet.
Oh yeah.
And last year it was 992
Or
people
more.
were killed by police. 992. So previous years it was like 1,000.
Oh
So
yeah.
when you look at the map, this is where the police have killed people.
Oh yeah.
You know.
It's
So
it's worse than the Wild Wild West.
yeah, there's no way you can tell me the US is the most safest country in the world. It's not. Ghana is even safer than US, bro.
US is the
Ghana is
hell.
even more safe than the US.
It's the gates of hell. The US.
Mm.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So yeah, any last words? I'll give you the floor. You got 3 more minutes before my computer shuts down.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
I
go
just
ahead.
want to say that like I just want to introduce my channel. My channel is I'm the Officer of the Damn Law, PBWW channel, which is known as the Police Brutality Worldwide channel. I talk about police issues and other issues, but I strictly talk about police brutality because this is one system that has been used to try and annihilate the melanated race. That's one thing the world system are using. So this is a system. It's not just police brutality, but a system to use to try and genocide us from the face of the earth.
Very sad. Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thanks, man.
We should do this often.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, I didn't know how this would go because I rarely talk about police brutality and stuff like that. But I'm glad this this story of the 19-year-old really touched my heart, and it's the least I could do for the Aboriginal people at the moment. So to spread the news and cause an awareness for them. So yeah, I thank you. I want to thank you again for coming on.
Oh,
And
thanks. No problem.
yeah, I'll catch you. I'll catch you. I mean, I'm always an email away, so feel free to catch me whenever. And,
oh, sure.
And your channel's description is or the link to your channel is in the chat and also in the description box. So whoever is here who is catching the replay, please subscribe to Police Brutality, Officer of the Damn Law. Okay, help him propagate his message, and we need to cause the police to change their ways. Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right, family. Until next time. Peace and
peace.